Arsenal Daily News. The Mikel Arteta blueprint we're refusing to follow. Here's what nobody's talking about right now. While we sit here debating transfers and tactics, and whether Ruben Amorim's got what it takes, Arsenal just showed us exactly what modern football demands. And I'm not talking about their result. I'm talking about something far more uncomfortable for us as Arsenal Daily News fans. Because when you look at what Arsenal have become, when you strip away the rivalry and the banner and actually analyze what Arteta's built there, you realize we're watching a club that made a choice we refuse to make. And that choice, it's the difference between where they are and where we've been stuck for over a decade. This isn't about one match. This is about philosophy, about commitment, about having the stomach to see something through when it gets ugly. So let me ask you this. Are we actually ready to do what it takes? Or are we just going to keep repeating the same cycle over and over again? Look at Arsenal's squad right now. And I mean really look at it. Victor Gyokeres, 63 million euros from Sporting. Martin Zubimendi, 51 million pounds from Real Sociedad. Piero Hincapié on loan from Leverkusen. Christian Norgard from Brentford. Christian Mosquera from Valencia. On the surface, that's just transfer business, right? Every club does it. But here's what you're missing. Every single one of those signings fits a specific profile. Every single one of them was identified years in advance. Every single one of them serves a tactical purpose that existed in Arteta's mind before they even knew Arsenal wanted him. That's not scattergun recruitment. That's not panic buying. That's not, let's get a big name to appease the fans. That's surgical. That's methodical. That's a manager who knows exactly what he's building, and a board that trusts him enough to back it, even when it doesn't make sense to everyone else. Now compare that to us. Go on. I'll wait. We had more managers than Arsenal have had bad results in the last 3 years. We've signed players for different systems, different philosophies, different visions, and then wonder why it looks like a Frankenstein's monster on the pitch. We gave Ole 3 years, but never fully backed his rebuild. We gave Rangnick 6 months and ignored everything he told us. We gave Ten Hag 2 seasons and undermined him in the press. And now Amorim's here with a 3-4-3 system and a squad built for a 4-2-3-1. What Arsenal understood, what we still don't seem to grasp, is that time isn't the enemy. Mediocrity is. Half measures are. Changing direction every 18 months is. Remember Arsenal in 2020? Finished 8th. Finished 8th again the next season. The amount of Arteta out banners I saw, the amount of Arsenal fans called for his head on Twitter, it was relentless. And you know what? They had every right to be furious. Arsenal had dropped out of the Champions League and looked miles away from competing. But here's the thing. Behind the scenes, something was happening. Arteta was clearing out the rot, getting rid of the big egos, the players who didn't fit, the ones who were there for a paycheck. He was bringing in young, hungry players who believed in the project. He was implementing a style of play that looked clunky and rigid at first, because that's what happens when you're installing a new operating system. And the Arsenal board, they held their nerve. They didn't panic. They didn't sack him when Twitter was screaming for it. They looked at the training ground, the data, the culture shift, and they said, "No. We believe in this. Keep going." Now look at them, competing for titles, playing in the Champions League, a squad full of players who understand their roles, who press as a unit, who control games. And yes, they're still in all 4 competitions while we're scrambling just to secure Europa League football. We never had that courage. Not once. Not with any manager since Sir Alex. The moment results dipped, the moment the press turned, the moment Twitter exploded, we folded. We sacked the manager, ripped up the plan, started again from scratch. And every single time we did that, we lost another year, another generation of players, another chance to build something. You want to know why Arsenal looked coherent and we looked disjointed? That's why. They had the stomach to look worse before they looked better. We never did that. Let's talk about Victor Gyokeres for a second. Swedish striker, scored an absolute boatload of goals at Sporting, but he wasn't a household name when Arsenal signed him. He wasn't the flavor of the month on social media. He wasn't going to sell shirts in Asia. But you know what he was? He was exactly what Arteta needed, a striker who can press from the front, who can hold the ball up, who can make runs in behind, who fits the system like a glove. And yeah, he struggled a bit early on, but that was expected, because Arteta's not chasing short-term glory. He's building for 5 years from now. Same with Zubimendi. Arsenal didn't need another luxury number 10. They needed a press-resistant midfielder who could recycle possession and progress the ball under pressure. So they identified him at Real Sociedad, waited for the right moment, and got him. Now he's bossing games next to Declan Rice. Compare that to us. How many times have we signed a player because he was available, because he had a big name, because Ed Woodward wanted a commercial boost? Alexis Sanchez, Radamel Falcao, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Case Moreau at 30, even someone like Jadon Sancho, world-class talent, but signed for a system we weren't playing and a role we didn't actually need. Arsenal are signing players for positions. We're signing players for headlines. And that's why their squad looks like a machine, and ours looks like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces from 5 different boxes. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Ruben Amorim might be brilliant. He might turn out to be the best manager we've had since Fergie. But if we don't give him time, if we don't back him properly, if we panic the moment things get difficult, it won't matter. Because the problem isn't the managers. It's never been the managers. The problem is we keep hiring them with different philosophies, giving them 18 months, then sacking them when it doesn't work instantly. And every time we do that, we waste another 100 million on players who don't fit the next guy's system. Arsenal stuck with Arteta through the 8th place finishes, through the Europa League exits, through the trust the process memes. And now they're reaping the rewards. They've got a manager who knows the squad inside out, a squad that knows the system inside out, and a clear pathway for every young player coming through. We don't have that. We have a collection of players signed for 4 different managers. We have a dressing room that's seen more tactical systems than a military academy. And we have a fan base that's so desperate for success that we turn on the manager the moment we lose 2 games in a row. If we want to be Arsenal, if we want to be Liverpool, if we want to be what Manchester City were under Pep, we have to accept that it's going to take time. Real time, ugly time. Time where we might finish 6th and get knocked out of the cups and look worse before we look better. The question is, do we have the patience for that? Or are we going to do what we always do? Everyone's looking at Arsenal's squad and saying, yeah, they've spent money, so what? But that's not the point. We spent more money than Arsenal over the last 5 years. Way more. The difference isn't the spending. It's the direction. Arsenal know what they're building. Every signing is another brick in the same wall. Every tactical tweak is a refinement, not a revolution. Every decision is made with 2027 in mind, not just next weekend. We're still reactive. We're still chasing the next shiny thing. We're still trying to buy our way out of problems that can only be solved with time and coherence. And until we accept that, until we commit to a vision and see it through even when it hurts, we're never getting back to the top. So here's what I'm wondering. Does Amorim get the same backing Arteta got? Does Ineos have the courage to stick with him through a potential 7th place finish? Do they understand that buying Gyokeres type players, players who fit a system rather than players who sell shirts, is how you actually win things? Or are we going to do what we always do? Panic in March. Brief the press about concerns. Start looking at other managers. Rinse and repeat. Because if we do that, if we bottle this again, then we're not a serious football club anymore. We're just a nostalgia brand with a museum. Look, I'm not saying Arsenal are perfect. I'm not saying Arteta's some genius who never makes mistakes. But what I am saying is they made a choice. They chose patience over panic. They chose coherence over chaos. They chose to build something real instead of chasing quick fixes. And now they're in a Carabao Cup semi-final, competing for the title and looking like an actual team instead of a collection of individuals. We can have that. We can be that. But only if we learn the lesson they learned 4 years ago. Only if we give Amorim the time and backing and trust that Arteta got. Only if we're willing to endure the pain of rebuilding properly instead of slapping another Band-Aid on the wound. The blueprint is right there. Arsenal just handed it to us. The question is, are we brave enough to follow it? I'll leave you with that.